Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. So today it's story time. So today it's the story of how I almost got recruited into a cult. So grab a coffee or tea, get cozy with me, hit the subscribe button and the like button, and let's get into it. So before I tell you my part, I need to tell you a backstory about this cult, okay? Um, this was in Okinawa. Yep, another Okinawa story. The 2 years I was in Okinawa was memorable. I mean, crazy. The place was crazy. I've got more stories. Yeah, it's wild. So anyway, so when I first got to Okinawa, I got there in May of 1990. Within a few weeks of being in the dorm, there was these two guys. One had blonde hair, the other one had dark brown hair. Really good looking guys. They were cute. And I knew of them. I didn't talk to them and stuff, but you notice because cute guys. Um, and they worked in the same squadron as me. I was part of the 961st AWACS squadron. Now, the AWACS plane is that big plane with that big round dome on it, and that is for reconnaissance. It's for spying. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to work for that. And I did that for a while, and then after almost a year, I got recruited into working in Warehouse 10. I was still with AWACS, so I still lived in that dorm, but I worked at Warehouse 10. I was their liaison between the two squadrons, AWACS and Supply. So I didn't work in the same in the AWACS buildings. I worked over in the Supply warehouse. So so that's why there's a lot of people I didn't really know. It was really the ones that were in my dorm were the only ones that I knew. So these two guys they were dudes. They dated. They had, they would go out. They would go to the club, the Airmen's Club. They drank. They listened to music. They were guys, just regular guys. Well, all of a sudden, practically overnight, they changed. And they got rid of all their music. And I know all this because people talk and you hear things and people gossip and stuff, but you hear things about the other guys talking about these two guys, and they were kind of worried about them, you know. But these guys completely changed. They went from jovial, joking around kind of guys to they were very quiet, almost robotic in their behavior. When they weren't in uniform, they would wear button-up shirts and they would button it all the way to the top. It's like, man, that's got to be uncomfortable. But no, they'd button it all the way to the top. And they would either wear khakis or nice jeans. And they got rid of all their music, books, everything. And their dorm room became just an empty room. And all they would do is sit there and read the Bible. And that was it. And these guys, they kept getting in trouble at work because they were aircraft maintenance. Their job is to fix the planes. And all they wanted to do was read the Bible. And so they kept getting in trouble. Within a month of being there, the blonde hair guy had a mental breakdown. He went ballistic. He picked up a chair, threw it out the window, crashed it through a window, and just lost his ever-loving mind, just had a complete breakdown. And so they took him and they put him in the psych ward in the hospital. And I don't know what became of him after that. I never saw him again after that. And then the dark brown hair guy, if anything, he became more fanatical. He doubled down on reading the Bible and stuck to himself and didn't really talk to anyone. He was uncomfortable to be around. It was very unnerving. So my part starts around January or February in 1991. I'd been there for like what, 9 months now, 8, 9 months, and I'm pretty used to just how weird this place is. Like seriously, I felt like I was in an insane asylum. There was a few times I'm like, am I the crazy one? Like, am I living in an alternate universe where I think this is a military base, but actually they put me in a loony bin? Because that's what it felt like. There was so much weirdness going on. It was crazy. Um, I was 21 when I joined the Air Force, and I thought I knew about the world. Oh no, no, I knew nothing about the world. Nothing. Going to Okinawa humbled me really quick. I realized I knew nothing about the world and about people. Nothing. It was very eye opening. And so around January, February of 1991, there was this girl that moved into our dorm. And she was 18 years old. She was very young, very naive, had, she was brand new to the Air Force, brand new. And I felt like I needed to be an older sister to her, just kind of take her under my wing and show her the ropes and just kind of be there for her, because Okinawa is just wild there and it's dangerous, because there's a lot of guys. I'm not saying all men are dangerous, but there's a lot of guys and not that many women. And so it can get kind of scary sometimes in certain situations. So I was just kind of wanting to teach her not to put herself in those situations. Um, so, I'd take her off base. I'd take her to Gate 2 Street during the day, and we would have lunch and go shopping. And I would drive her around to different touristy sites and just have her, show her the ropes and everything. Now, she and I did not work in the same building. She was in the AWACS building. I was in the warehouse. But we were on the same shift. And there was a few times that she needed me to go over to her building to show her some things and, how to do the job, because we were both in the same job. So that went on for a few months. I think it was March. I got my shift changed. I went from being on swing shift from 3:30 to midnight. I ended up working 11:30 at night till 7:30 in the morning. And so went on a different shift. Well, when you're on a different shift, you might as well be on a different planet, because your whole schedule changes. And so I didn't get to hang out with her as much as I was, but I would go and knock on her door and talk to her and stuff like that. And her dorm room was cute. It looked like a teenage girl's room, posters and frilly and pinks and makeup and all that. But so it's May, and I hadn't really talked to her in over a month. She kind of quit talking to me, and she got her own friends, and which I was glad. I was relieved. I'm like, good. She's getting her own friends. She's finding her way. I'm like, cool, cool. So, yeah, just kind of lost track of her. And so now it's, late May, maybe early June. And I had just got off of work. It's Sunday morning. It's around 8:30 in the morning. I have my pajamas on. And when I say pajamas, it's a ratty t-shirt and some loose shorts. The dorm I was in, the floor, that's where all the women's rooms were. We had our own room, but we had one big communal bathroom. So I didn't want to have to change my clothes and get dressed every time I needed to go to the bathroom. So I would just wear clothes that I could just get up and go. So, So I'm in my pajamas and I get a knock on the door, and it's her. And she's just sobbing. And I'm like, geez, Louise, what's wrong? What, are you okay? She's like, I missed my ride to my church. I'm supposed to go to church today and I missed my ride. And she's just sobbing. And in my head, I'm thinking, man, this is kind of overkill. You know, it's just church. You'll go next Sunday. It's not a big deal. But she's just like inconsolable. And I'm like, she's like, can you give me a ride? Can you take me? I'm like, I'm in my pajamas. I'm like, no, I just got off work. I'm really tired. Please, can you take me? And I'm like, fine, I'll take you. So she turns around, starts walking down the hallway to the door, to that outside door. Doesn't say anything. I grab my keys, my wallet, put my shoes on, let's go. And we're driving, and she's not saying anything to me. And I'm trying to talk to her, like, how you been, you know, who you been hanging out with, like, you know, how's life, basically. And she's like, yes, no, I don't know, like that. I'm like, wow, this is weird. I legit felt uncomfortable around her. It was just very odd. So we're driving along, and I'm noticing that in the direction she's giving me, and I notice we're going off base, and I'm kind of getting a little uneasy. And I'm like, I hope it's not that church that I had heard about, you know, last year. And the base is a really, really large base. So for me, needing to drive her to a church on base was not unheard of because it was just a really large base. Nope, we went off base. And I'm like, oh man, I hope it's not that church that I think it is. So she's giving me directions, turn here, go there. And we pull up, and there's these two guys standing outside, button up shirt all the way up here, wearing really nice jeans. And I went, oh man, my heart just sank. I was like, it's that church. And I pull up, and I'm going really slow because it was a dirt road, and it was this white building. It didn't look like a church. It was just a white building. And I'm going really slow, and she didn't even wait for me to come to a complete stop. She immediately jumps out of the car and runs inside the building. And so I'm watching her, and I'm like, this is just so weird. And as I'm watching her, now the car's over there, the driver's side is on the right-hand side. Okay, so we drove on the left side of the road. I know it's weird. It took me a while to get used to that. So I'm on the right-hand side. I had the window cracked a little bit because it was spring. So spring in Okinawa is lovely. The winters are, it's about 55 degrees, but this is a tropical island. So it rained constantly, just every single day. It was rain, 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 rain. So it would just seep into your bones, and it was just, ugh. So it's spring, you know, it's late May, early June. So it's about 70, 75 degrees, sunny, perfect weather. So I have my window cracked like this, and I'm watching her run in. And as I'm watching her, this guy, he leans in, and he goes, would you like to come inside? Very robotic, very robotic. And I'm like, I go, no, no, thank you. I'm in pajamas. I'm not fit to go inside. He goes, that's okay. We're all family here. We don't care what you're wearing. And I'm like, no, no, that's okay. Now, as I'm talking to this guy, another guy shows up on this side, and another guy is standing in front of my car. Okay. And I'm like, and I just kind of look around. I'm like, oh man. And my heart started going a little bit like, oh man. And so the guy's like, no, no, come inside. And he reached to open up my car door. Now, I always lock my doors, always. You know, when you're a woman by yourself, you always lock your car doors, always, because you just never know. And he tried to open up the door, and I could see like this look of irritation on his eyes. He's like, come inside. And he started to get more insistent. And I said, you need to tell your friend in front of my car to move because I'm leaving now. He's like, no, no, stay, stay. We really are a family here, and you would be so welcome. Come on in. And I'm like, last warning, tell him to move. No, stay. And I gunned it. And the guy in front dives out of the way, and I gun it, and I'm getting the heck out of there. And I'm shaking. I'm just shaking, and my heart's just like I that scared me. That really scared me. And I get back to my dorm, and I go in my room, and I sit on my bed, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And what I think happened is that her church ordered her to start recruiting some people, and I was it. She chose me. I think that whole thing was staged. She didn't miss her ride. I think it was staged to get me to get inside. And I'm not arrogant enough to assume that they wouldn't have been able to brainwash me, because I've got a rotten childhood. I am peak person to choose to try to brainwash. So no, like, no. I stay far, far away from all that stuff because it just scares me. And yeah, that really, really scared me. And so I couldn't go to sleep. I did not sleep that day. I was young. I could get away with it now. Please, I'd be dead. I'd be the walking dead. But back then I'm only 22. It's fine. So I wait for her to get back, and I go to her room, and she answers the door, and she's just stone faced. And her room had completely changed. All of her girly stuff that was in there was gone. There was only one thing hanging on the wall, and it was a tapestry of the Last Supper. And that's it. And I'm like, what was that? What were you trying to do? What was that? And she just nothing, you know. And I'm like, you really shouldn't be at that church. That place is dangerous. It's a cult. And she she just would not talk to me. She would not. She's like, she just was like that and just completely shut down. And then she just shut the door. And I kept trying to talk to her. I would go and knock on her door. When I'd see her in the hallway, I'd try to say hi to her, and I'd be walking down the hallway, and she'd literally like go in and practically hug the wall to go around me as if I had the plague or something. Like, she treated me like I was a pariah. She would not have anything to do with me after that. And it was so sad. She went from this really cute, pretty girl to her face became very hollow, and she looked dead. Her eyes looked dead. She didn't smile anymore. She looked terrible. And I tried to talk to her, and it just didn't, I couldn't. And so I started dating my husband in October of that year. And so all of my time was spent with him. So I lost track of her completely, and she wouldn't talk to me anymore. And then I left in May of 92. My husband and I got married in March of 92. So I lived in his dorm room until I left in May. And I didn't, after that incident, she would never speak to me again. And I lost track of her. I don't know what happened to her. So it was just a really, really scary experience. And yeah, I did. I almost got recruited. I really think that if I hadn't had my door locked on my car, that he would have dragged me out of my car, and they would have forcibly brought me into that church. I'm 100% convinced that they would have like grabbed me, you know, because why would there be three guys surrounding my car like that? You know, I really think they would have grabbed me by my arms and dragged me into that church. And it would have been easy to do because I weighed 100 pounds. I was tiny. And I'm only 5'3". So yeah, they could have easily overpowered me and taken me in there. So I'm so grateful for being somewhat paranoid and always locking my car door because that saved me that day. That saved me. And yeah, that's how I almost got recruited into a cult. So that is my story. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel, please hit the subscribe button. That's all I have for you today. Take care, be well, and I'll talk to you next week. Next week, I will continue my menopause series. This one will be about menopause itself, and I will go over my story and then some tips that I have on how to manage symptoms. Okay, so I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.